You've been manipulated today, and there's a disturbing chance you thank the person who did it. Read that again. Because the most dangerous manipulation doesn't feel like control. It feels like trust. It feels like love. It feels like good advice. And that's exactly why it works. Think about the last decision you made. Was it really yours? Or was someone quietly steering you toward the outcome they wanted? Here's the unsettling part. The people who manipulate you the most rarely raise their voices. They don't threaten you. They don't announce their intentions. Instead, they smile. They compliment you. They make you feel understood. Until one day, you realize you've been living by rules you never created. Psychologists have spent decades studying how influence works, and the truth is far more unsettling than most people realize. Your brain is wired with shortcuts that can be exploited by anyone who knows where to push. Friends, co-workers, partners, family members, even complete strangers. But here's the twist almost nobody sees coming. The most effective manipulator in your life may not be trying to control your actions. They're trying to control the story you tell yourself. Because once someone changes the way you interpret reality, they no longer have to convince you of anything. You'll start making their choices, believing they're your own. If you've ever apologized without knowing why, questioned your own memories, or walked away from a conversation feeling guilty instead of understood, what you're about to hear may explain more than you expect. And by the time you recognize the pattern, you may discover it has been shaping your life for far longer than you ever imagined. The moment you start feeling guilty for protecting your own peace, someone else may be writing the rules of your life. Manipulators don't fight your boundaries. They make you feel ashamed for having them. Psychology calls this guilt conditioning. When saying no is repeatedly followed by disappointment, anger, or emotional withdrawal, your brain begins to associate boundaries with emotional pain. Imagine telling a friend you can't help them move this weekend only to hear, "Wow, I guess I know where I stand now." Suddenly, you're questioning yourself instead of your decision. Over time, you stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "How do I avoid making them upset?" That's how confidence quietly turns into compliance. In fact, research shows people are far more likely to agree to future requests after experiencing guilt, even when it goes against their own interests. Remember this: healthy relationships respect your boundaries. Manipulative ones make you apologize for them. And once someone can control your emotions, the next thing they'll try to control is something even more powerful: your perception of reality. The scariest thing someone can take from you isn't your freedom. It's your trust in your own mind. Manipulators use self-doubt as a weapon because a person who questions themselves becomes easier to control. This tactic works through a psychological process called reality distortion, where repeated denial and criticism slowly reshape how you see your own experiences. Imagine telling your partner that something they said hurt you, and they respond, "I never said that. You're always overreacting." At first, you defend yourself, but after hearing it again and again, you start wondering if maybe you're the problem. That doubt doesn't disappear. It spreads. It weakens your confidence, damages your self-respect, and makes every decision feel uncertain. A surprising truth? The human brain is more likely to question itself when someone confidently challenges its memories. So remember, when someone constantly makes you doubt your reality, they're not just winning an argument. They're slowly changing how you see yourself. And the next manipulation tactic is even harder to recognize because it often feels like affection. The most confusing kind of control is when someone makes you feel incredible, then makes you chase that feeling again. Manipulators often use a psychological pattern called intermittent reinforcement, giving affection, praise, or approval unpredictably, so you become emotionally attached to receiving it. Your brain starts focusing on getting back the reward, even when the relationship begins hurting you. Imagine a partner who tells you, "You're the only person who understands me." One week, then becomes distant and cold the next. Suddenly, you're analyzing every message, every conversation, wondering what you did wrong. Over time, this emotional uncertainty can damage your confidence and make you work harder for basic respect. A surprising fact? Unpredictable rewards can create stronger habits than consistent rewards. That's why gambling feels so addictive. Remember, real appreciation feels stable, manipulation keeps you chasing. And once someone learns they can control your emotions, they may use an even more powerful tactic, next turning your own reactions against you. The most dangerous arguments are the ones where you walk away apologizing for something you never did. Manipulators use a tactic called responsibility shifting because controlling the conversation is often easier than admitting fault. Instead of facing the issue, they redirect your attention toward your reaction, your words, or your emotions. Imagine telling your coworker, "I felt frustrated when you took credit for my idea," and they respond, "You always make everything personal. Maybe your attitude is the real problem." Suddenly, you're defending yourself instead of addressing what happened. Over time, this pattern makes you second-guess your feelings, weaken your self-respect, and avoid speaking up. A surprising psychological insight. People naturally try to reduce conflict, which makes them more likely to accept blame just to restore peace. Remember, a healthy conversation creates understanding. Manipulation creates confusion. And the next sign reveals how some people quietly remove your support system without you even noticing. The easiest person to control is someone who slowly stops hearing any voice except yours. Manipulators understand that isolation creates dependence. When they reduce your connection with people who support you, they remove the outside perspectives that could expose their behavior. Psychology shows that humans rely on social feedback to understand what is normal, healthy, and acceptable. Imagine your partner constantly saying, "Your friends don't really understand our relationship," or "Your family is always against us." At first, it sounds protective, but slowly, you spend less time with the people who know you best and more time trying to keep one person happy. Over time, isolation can weaken your confidence, limit your choices, and make you doubt your own judgment. A surprising truth? People are more likely to accept harmful situations when they feel they have nowhere else to turn. Remember, control grows in silence. When someone tries to shrink your world, pay attention, because the next sign reveals how manipulators use pressure to stop you from thinking clearly. The moment someone forces you to decide before you're ready, they may not be seeking your answer. They may be trying to control it. Manipulators create urgency because pressure changes the way your brain works. When you feel rushed, your mind shifts from careful analysis to quick survival decisions. This is known as the urgency effect, a psychological shortcut that makes people more likely to accept choices they might question with more time. Imagine a boss telling you, "I need your answer right now, or I'll give this opportunity to someone else." Or a partner saying, "If you really cared about me, you wouldn't need time to think." Suddenly, the pressure becomes more powerful than your own judgment. Over time, constant urgency can make you distrust your instincts and depend on someone else to decide what happens next. A surprising fact, even small time limits can dramatically increase impulsive choices. Remember, genuine truth doesn't need to rush you. If someone fears your ability to think, they may be hiding something. And the final sign reveals the warning feeling your mind notices before you do. Sometimes the biggest warning sign isn't what someone says to you, it's how you feel after they leave. Manipulators often create emotional exhaustion because keeping you confused, defensive, or responsible for their feelings gives them power. Psychology shows that prolonged emotional stress activates your brain's threat response, making you focus more on avoiding conflict than protecting your own needs. Imagine leaving a conversation with a friend who constantly turns every issue into your fault. You replay every word, wondering, was I too harsh? Did I do something wrong? Even when nothing was your responsibility, you carry the emotional weight home. Over time, this drains your confidence, weakens your boundaries, and makes your decisions revolve around keeping others comfortable. A surprising insight? Your body can detect emotional stress patterns before your conscious mind fully understands them. Remember, peace is not something you should have to earn. When every interaction leaves you feeling smaller, your mind may already be warning you. Learning to recognize these patterns is the first step toward taking back control. The most important question you can ask yourself is not, who is controlling me? But, have I been slowly giving away my own power? Manipulation survives in darkness. It grows when you ignore the small moments that make you question your feelings, your choices, and your worth. But the moment you become aware, the pattern begins to lose its power. Remember this: a person who understands their own mind becomes nearly impossible to control. You don't need to live in fear of manipulation. You need to live with awareness, confidence, and the courage to trust yourself again. If this video helped you see relationships differently, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts as in the TH comments. And stay with us because the next psychology lesson reveals a hidden truth about human behavior that most people never notice. Because the greatest freedom you can achieve is realizing that your mind has always belonged to you.